The person most likely to kill you in a collapse isn't a criminal. It's someone who knows your name. That statement just made you uncomfortable. Good, because what I'm about to tell you is something the survival community refuses to say out loud, and that silence is getting people killed. Right now, as you're watching this, your neighbors are forming opinions about you. They've noticed things, small things, the delivery trucks, the garage that's always closed, the garden that seems a little too productive for someone who just likes tomatoes. And here's what keeps me up at night. They're not even aware they're doing it. But in a crisis, that unconscious assessment becomes a targeting decision, and by then, it's too late to disappear. I'm going to walk you through the 4-stage escalation pattern that turns friendly neighbors into existential threats. But first, you need to understand why everything you think you know about community is wrong. Now, I already know what some of you are thinking. This is paranoid. My neighbors are good people. We have barbecues together. They watched my dog last month. And you're right, they probably are good people. That's exactly what makes them dangerous. Here's the uncomfortable truth that no one in this space wants to admit. Good people do terrible things when their children are starving. Not because they're evil, because they're human. Ask yourself, honestly, what would you do if your family hadn't eaten in 5 days and you knew the house 3 doors down had food? Don't answer too quickly. Sit with that. Let me show you this isn't theory. Los Angeles, 1992. The Rodney King verdict hits. Riots erupt. But here's what the documentaries don't emphasize. The violence wasn't random. Korean store owners weren't targeted by strangers from across the city. They were targeted by people from their own neighborhoods, customers who memorized which stores had inventory, which owners kept cash on hand, which locations were worth hitting. Those famous rooftop images? Store owners defending against people who knew their names. Think about that. You're standing on your roof with a rifle, watching someone you sold groceries to yesterday walking toward your door with a crowbar. That's stage 4 of the escalation pattern. But we need to talk about stage 1 first, because that's where you still have options. Before I continue, I need you to do something. Think about your street. Visualize it. Now ask yourself, who on your street knows you're prepared? Your spouse mentioned it to someone. You had a conversation at a block party. Your garage door was open when that pallet of water arrived. If you can think of even one person outside your household who might suspect you have supplies, your operational security is already compromised. That's not paranoia, that's mathematics. Every person who knows becomes a node. They tell their spouse mentions it to a coworker. That coworker has a brother-in-law who notices things. Information doesn't leak, it hemorrhages. Now let me walk you through exactly how friendly neighbors become threats. There are 4 stages, and most people don't recognize what's happening until stage 3, when it's already too late to change course. Stage 4 is where the violence happens, but stage 1 looks like kindness. The power's been out for 3 days. Water pressure dropped yesterday. Your neighbor, let's call him Dave, knocks on your door. Dave's a good guy, helped you move that couch last spring. His wife makes those cookies at Christmas. "Hey," Dave says, "we noticed you guys seem pretty set up over here. Any chance we could get some water? Just for the kids, just until things get back to normal." What do? You want to help. Of course you do. You're a decent person. And it's just water. You have plenty. So you give Dave 2 gallons. He thanks you profusely, tells you what a great neighbor you are. And you've just made the worst mistake of the crisis. Why? Because what did Dave learn from that interaction? He learned you have water when no one else does. He learned you're willing to share, and he learned something even more important. He learned you have more.
No one gives away their last 2 gallons. Let me be crystal clear about what just happened. You thought you were being a good neighbor. You thought you were building community. What you actually did was confirm a target profile. Dave isn't thinking, "What a generous person." Dave is thinking, maybe not consciously, but somewhere in the survival calculus of his brain, they have supplies. They have enough to give away. They probably have more. And now, stage 2 begins. This is where the psychology shifts, and where most preppers lose the game entirely. 3 days later, Dave is back, but this time, he's not alone. He brought the Hendersons from across the street. "Hey, we heard you helped Dave out. We're in the same situation." The kids, you know. What's different about this interaction? Think about it. Dave asked. The Hendersons expected. You set a precedent. You established that your house is a resource, and now refusing feels like betrayal. You helped them. Why won't you help us? That question is a trap with no good answer. Because here's the brutal math. You cannot give enough. There is no amount of generosity that makes a neighborhood whole during scarcity. You can only give until you have nothing left, and then you're the one knocking on doors. I need to tell you something personal. I used to think community was the answer. I spent years building relationships with my neighbors specifically because I believed that's how you survive a crisis. Mutual aid, shared resources, strength in numbers. And then I actually studied what happens in collapses. Not the Hollywood version, the real version. Argentina, 2001. Venezuela's ongoing crisis, the aftermath of Katrina. The pattern is identical every time. Neighbors who knew each other for decades, barbecues and birthday parties and borrowed lawnmowers, and within weeks of scarcity, those same people were breaking into each other's homes. Community doesn't survive hunger. It gets consumed by it. At some point, you have to say no. Your supplies are finite. Your family comes first. So you draw a line. I'm sorry, we don't have any more to give. Watch Dave's face when you say that. Watch the exact moment when gratitude inverts into something else. In his mind, you could have helped more. In his mind, you're hoarding. In his mind, you watched his children go hungry while you had food behind closed doors. Is his resentment logical? Does it matter? Resentment doesn't need to be accurate. It just needs to be felt. And once it's felt, it spreads. Dave talks to the Hendersons. The Hendersons talk to 3 other families. Suddenly, you're not the generous neighbor anymore. You're the hoarder, the selfish one. The reason everyone else is suffering. And that's when stage 4 becomes inevitable, unless you understand what I'm about to tell you next. Pause with me for a second. Think about your current situation, your neighborhood, your operational security. Who knows what you have? Who has seen your preparations? Who have you talked to about this? Be honest, because the answer to those questions determines whether you're watching this video as education or as a warning that's already too late. Stage 4 is simple. Resentment plus desperation equals action. Sometimes it's subtle. Supplies going missing, your shed lock broken, things disappearing from the garage. Sometimes it's direct. A knock on the door, multiple neighbors. We've decided the community needs to share resources. We are here to make sure that happens. This isn't a mob of strangers. These are people you've known for years. People who know your daily schedule, who know when you're home and when you're not, who know which windows don't have good locks. They have intelligence on you that a criminal could never gather. And they've justified what they're about to do as community action, not theft. How do you stop people who believe they're the good guys? Let me crystallize what we've covered. Stage 1, requests confirm you have resources. Stage 2, expectations create obligations. Stage 3, boundaries trigger resentment. Stage 4, resentment enables action. This escalation pattern has repeated in every prolonged crisis in modern history. It's not theoretical, it's not paranoid, it's documented. The question isn't whether it will happen, the question is what you do about it. And I have 4 options for you, but only one of them works if your security is already compromised. What I'm about to share is the actual playbook, not theory, not general advice, specific tactics that address each stage of the escalation. Most of you won't do this. It requires discipline. It requires playing a role. It requires being less likable than you want to be. But for those of you who are serious, here's how you disappear. Starting today, before any crisis, you become vocally unprepared. Complain about grocery prices. Mention that you've been meaning to stock up but can't afford it.
Leave packages pile up on your porch for a day before bringing them in. Leave your garage door open occasionally, showing a normal car and normal clutter. Create a counter profile. You're not the prepared neighbor, you're the overwhelmed neighbor, the struggling neighbor, the neighbor who's definitely not a resource. This feels dishonest. Good. Operational security isn't about authenticity, it's about survival. Misdirection works before a crisis. But what if you're already known as a prepper? What if your operational security is already blown? That's where solution 2 comes in, and it's counterintuitive. Create visible preparation that's actually minimal. A few cases of bottled water in the garage, 2 weeks of canned food on an obvious shelf, a basic first aid kit. Enough to look like someone who did the bare minimum. When Dave knocks, you share from the decoys, generously, visibly. This is basically all we have, but we'll split it with you. Now Dave has seen your supplies. He's received half of them. In his mind, you're tapped out. You're struggling just like everyone else. Meanwhile, your actual preparation is somewhere he'll never look. Is this manipulative? Yes. Does it keep your family alive? Also yes. I said earlier that community can be dangerous. That's true, but isolation is also fatal. The answer isn't no relationships. The answer is curated relationships. Identify the 10% of your neighbors who would be assets, not threats. The nurse, the veteran, the guy who's handy with mechanics, the family that's clearly competent. Build relationships with these people specifically, not as preppers, never reveal that, but as trusted neighbors with implicit mutual aid. If anything crazy ever happens, check on us and we'll check on you. That sentence is alliance building. It's not, I have 6 months of food storage. The first creates partnership. The second creates targeting. Everything I've told you so far assumes you stay in your current location. But here's the question nobody wants to ask. Should you?
If your operational security is already blown, if your neighbors already know too much, the math might favor leaving. I know. Your home, your investment, your familiar territory, everything you've built. But consider, is that location an asset or a target? In the early hours of a crisis, before the escalation pattern takes hold, you have a window, a brief period where movement is still possible, where leaving looks like evacuation rather than flight. Do you have somewhere to go where no one knows what you have? A secondary location, a property in a different area? If you don't, that's something to fix now while you can. Let me bring this together. The greatest threat in a collapse isn't the enemy you imagine. It's not the roving gang or the government crackdown or the chaos in the streets. It's the person who already knows your address, your routine, your visible preparations. It's the person who's decent and kind and would help you jump your car until their family is hungry and they remember you're the one with supplies. Your protection is anonymity. Your weapon is misdirection. Your advantage is understanding human psychology before it's aimed at you. I want to leave you with something that might seem contradictory. I've spent this entire video telling you to be suspicious of your neighbors, to hide, to manipulate, to prepare for the worst in people you've known for years. That sounds dark. It feels dark. And part of me wishes I didn't know these patterns exist. But here's what I've learned from studying actual collapses. The people who survive aren't the ones with the most supplies. They're the ones who understand human behavior, who see the escalation pattern starting and know how to interrupt it, who maintain relationships without creating dependencies. The gray man isn't a hermit. The gray man is selectively social, friendly with everyone, close with few, trusted by some, fully known by none. A ghost who waves hello at the mailbox. Before you click away, I want you to do something. Tomorrow morning, walk outside, look at your street, look at the houses, think about who lives in each one. Now ask yourself, if everything collapsed next week, truly collapsed, not for a day, but for months, what would each of those people do? What would they know about you? What would they be willing to do to feed their families? The answer to those questions isn't pessimism,
It's preparation. It's understanding the game board before the game starts. If this resonates, if you're ready for survival content that doesn't pretend humans stay civilized when their children are starving, subscribe. Because the threats everyone talks about, the gangs, the criminals, the chaos, those are real. But the threat no one discusses lives next door. And right now, today, they already know more about you than you realize. Time to become invisible.